Recriminations, further protests, and the future. Thus ended an extremely dramatic day. To recap, the anti-hotel protesters, not the leftists, were mostly locals, with one or two outsiders present. The unrest was largely non-violent, meaning disorder and the targeting of state property rather than police officers personally. These destructive incidents, it seems fair to say, were exacerbated by police actions, namely seeming to assist the leftists and using what appeared to be instances of excessive force. On the right, the discussion of the events focused much on the last point. It was incorrectly stated by many that police bussed in the leftists to the protest, when they had in fact walked them up from the station. The buses, of course, came later. That's splitting hairs to some extent. Either way, the police got them there, into the flashpoint. It was clearly a bad idea, considering the last protest. Such a bad idea you'd be forgiven for thinking that the police desired a violent reaction. If we're entertaining this theory, either they wanted to let the leftists kick some fascist bottom and provide triumphant optics, or they wanted the fascists to pummel the leftists and provide nasty optics. Either way, it would be a propaganda victory. The police claim they were merely facilitating the leftists' right to protest, allowing them to go about their lawful business unhindered. There won't be many in Epping who believe that. It seems doubtful the police would have done the same for a nationalist group trying to reach a left-wing protest, or for two sets of football fans. They would have kettled them far apart. What occurred was either incompetence or something more cynical. The police initially denied they had taken the leftists to the hotel. They later rode back on this when footage of them doing so came to light, clarifying they provided a foot cordon for the safety of the counter-protesters. We had a generally sound press conference with the Chief Constable of Essex Police, where he emphasised the lines about the right to protest and the right to go wherever you want. No favouritism between factions, you understand, just protecting everyone's rights. He wisely sidestepped an invitation from a journalist to have a go at Nigel Farage for daring to criticise police activities. However, the brass hat then appeared quite risible when he was questioned about the police tactics of the day. Charlie Peters of GB News asked if the police regretted not keeping the two groups apart. Chief Constable Harrington replied, "It's not for me to comment or try to criticise or examine that operation. It quite literally is his job." Many were berating the police for defending the hotel and for evacuating the leftists from Tower Road. I do not agree with this, because the police are charged with protecting the public. Had they not been there, the locals could have exacted serious violence on the migrants or leftists, and serious damage on the building. The migrants or leftists may also have done violence, by the way. That's not to say the police are blameless, but they should not be castigated for performing their roles, and lower-level officers are not the ones making the strategic decisions. Subsequent protests have been less of note, because the police were more prepared and undertook a lot of defensive measures. Metal barriers were erected near the hotel, with patrol cars present and a police guard whenever a protest was scheduled. On the following Thursday, the 24th of July, more metal barriers designated a protest zone, and demonstrators were heavily encouraged to enter it. Dispersal orders became routine, and orders to demand the removal of face masks, on pain of arrest, were used. Not all the leftists complied or were made to comply. On Sunday the 27th, Stand Up to Racism organised a sizable counter-demonstration. This was the biggest show from the leftists, who flocked from all over London with their pre-made placards. They made sure they brought dubious private security guards and stewards with them to doubly ensure their safety. The police escorted them again, this time along the long route to Bell Common, to their own metal barrier enclosure just behind the locals. Here they stayed and chanted their nonsense for about half an hour before being escorted back, fascism duly defeated. Apart from a bit of verbals and argy-bargy with YouTubers, there was no trouble.